After a several-month hiatus, we are officially back here. It is our Edge Super Bowl special. We're going through games. We're going through the prop. That's Jake Circus from Bleach Report. Back. How has your last couple months of football season been?
Great. It's going into a very, very long off season. My wall is much healthier after our hiatus, partially thanks to you. Very generous gift in the background, but yeah, it's good to be back.
We had a very exciting week watching the Australian Open. Carlos Alcaraz
Yeah.
Defeating Novak Djokovic in the final. You are, since I think our last show, you've officially claimed yourself as the tennis guy. So I guess if any podcasts out there looking for tennis experts, you're now the guy for it, with Carlos beating the GOAT. And now one of these teams are going to look to become the GOAT of the 2026 NFL season. I cannot believe if you told me the last time we taped the show in the beginning of December that the Super Bowl would be Seattle versus New England, we probably could have gotten a very nice price on it. And here we are, Super Bowl 60 this week on NBC. Patriots a 4.5-point dog to the Seattle Seahawks. Patriots outlast the Broncos in the AFC Championship. Seattle wins a thriller on their home field against the division rival LA Rams. A lot to unpack with this matchup. What are some of your earlier thoughts?
Yeah, I think Seattle. I've gotten over my Sam Darnold thing. I've firmly believed that Sam Darnold was not good enough to win the Super Bowl. And in the past 2 months, I've adjusted that take and had shifted into a more, okay, Seattle is, I think, by far the best roster in the NFL. So when you have taken kind of how the season played out with the lack of elite quarterbacks in the playoffs, it is not very surprising that the winner of the NFC was a team with the best roster and elite coaching staff and that defense. Now the AFC was even more of a cluster. Again, the lack of elite quarterbacks. You add in the Bo Nix injury, which pretty much takes away the advantage that Denver had in that game. And that brings us to New England, a team that I very much believe does not deserve to be there. But here we are with them. And Drake May has a chance to join a pretty nice list of second-year quarterbacks to win the Super Bowl.
Drake May will be the youngest Super Bowl starting quarterback. Or I think he's the youngest quarterback to start in a Super Bowl. I think Dan Marino back in 80, 85, 84 has that crown right now. Again, two different paths for these teams. But again, I keep coming back to, it was only I believe 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago that Seattle was basically a pick-em on the road against San Francisco. And in a game they could have fallen to, I think, the 6th seed. Instead, they win that game very ugly, 13-3, something like that. And then they get a huge benefit of playing a much more injured Niners as their next game, and then play the Rams. If you're backing Seattle, I feel like this is the biggest thing you're concerned about. Is the last 3 games they've played have all been teams they have seen already. Would that be a point of worry for you, or for someone who thinks Seattle will win this game? How they've played now 3 straight games against the divisional teams who they've already seen once this year.
No, I think Mike McDonald has a fantastic track record of scripting and preparation and causing havoc to whoever the opponent is. It doesn't matter if it's brilliant offensive minds like McVay and Shanahan, because going into the Rams game, it was a clear X factor of which genius, I guess McVay, quote, genius. People would consider him a genius. I don't know if I do, but which one of the geniuses are going to add better wrinkles? And I think the answer to that question ended up being Mike McDonald, who got enough stops with that defense towards the end. But look, the track record for McDonald is we've mentioned this on the show. He's fantastic on the road. He has done really well against young quarterbacks. I'm not sure that's really actionable with this one because a lot of those young quarterbacks were not as good as Drake May. They were in much worse situations than what Drake May is currently in. That's going to be a trend that's thrown around a lot. Is I think McDonald's 9-1, maybe 10-0 against quarterbacks. Drake May is 23, so I think the stat is 25 and younger. So I think that's kind of a very noisy stat, but to answer your question, no, I don't. I don't think that really matters. This is the best defense in the NFL. I think they're the best roster in the NFL. They are very much equipped to play in this type of game is the quarterback. I think that's the one edge the Patriots might have in this game. I still believe that.
I don't know about one edge, but I think that is the most differential edge that, I mean, to go back to the title of the show, that New England may have is as poor as May has been in the playoffs. And I don't think he's been as poor as people. I think the Broncos game wasn't great, but like it was a snowstorm. I'm not sure what people wanted him to do. I thought the Texans game was probably the worst of the three, even though he had 3 scoring drives on on what I thought was the best defense in the league.
Got a lot of chances though.
Well, the Pats didn't score off any of the turnovers though, except for the pick 6. On the 3 touchdown drives, they all had to go the length of the field. That's why I don't know if that game. I know the 4 turnovers they forced didn't really lead to much, but Darnold leads the league in turnovers. Only Geno Smith threw more interceptions this year, and Darnold has played like a lot of clean games lately, so maybe it's a sign that he's done better. But I keep going back to like the Carolina game, which I think was Week 17, where like he was dying to give that game away, and then Seattle's defense I think actually forced a turnover too that really swung it back in the other direction. I think I told you this before the conference championships that if I had to pick between Seattle or the Rams, who I wanted the Patriots to play, the answer was Seattle, because 1 out of every 8 or 9 Darnold games, like he will give you a stinker. And I think the Patriots defense is the most underrated unit in this game. I know there's only 4 units, but like I think they should be getting the love that Seattle's defense has gotten, where this defense has given up 2 touchdowns in 3 playoff games. I don't care who you're playing. It's a tough thing to do, and I think the Broncos had 3 first downs in their last 10 drives. It just, I think that defense should be getting some more love, and I think that they like that they're not.
I mean, it's a little bit of a different task here. I mean, you're going up against a amazing schemer in Klint Kubiak and a very potent attack. I think they give the Pats some credit for the Chargers game. Watching the Herbert tape was very questionable. I mean, it wasn't just like Herbert. I don't like the narrative of, oh, this guy sees ghosts in the playoffs or whatever. It was one of the worst Herbert games of his career. So credit to Zach Kerr. That's the guy's name who took over for Terrell Williams, DC. Yeah. There were some professional analysts who thought Terrell Williams was calling plays out on TV.
Terrell Williams will be at the game Sunday.
So like I think the defense has improved a lot throughout the year. But the first time I'll bring this up is the path for that. They faced every backup quarterback. They faced teams that are destined for top 5, top 10 picks, and this is very elite offensive attack that has spent a lot of investment on improving the offensive line. They've masked. They've done a really, really nice job of masking all that Sam Darnold does poorly, and they've actually elevated Sam Darnold to a level that he didn't even get to last year.
If you have a game pick or a side that between either the total or the money line or anything the spread that you like a lot?
Yeah, very often I'm the contrarian, and if this was a normal NFL game, played at either obviously the Pats would be getting more points here if this was in Seattle, and it'd probably be closer to a pick 'em if it was in New England. But I would probably find myself betting New England here. I don't think the Super Bowl is really the place to get contrarian. I think this number has actually creeped towards 6 at some places, and I think it creeped back down. Money's coming in on Seattle. It doesn't matter if that's smart money, if that's public money. This is the most gambled game every year by however many margins that you want. So I don't feel the need to be contrarian here. Like I think a lot of people think that Seattle is going to blow them out. Don't know if I think it's going to be a non-contest, but I think Seattle is the far superior team. And again, like the game plan for them all year is to mask what Sam Darnold does poorly, and they've done such a good job of it. And I don't see threats on pretty much anywhere on this New England roster that can stop that.
No Super Bowl spread has been higher than 4.5 in the last 15 years. Favorites of 4 or more or higher are 5 and 6 against 5 and 6 straight up, 1 and 10 against the spread since 2000. Favorites are 1 and 4 straight up, 0 and 5 against the spread in the last 5 Super Bowls. So the trend is favorite the underdog. I'm of course going to pick the underdog. I think You mentioned the masking, the things that Darnold does poorly. I think the Pats defense with 2 weeks to get ready for him. I will take New England's coaching staff over Seattle's coaching staff in getting ready for this game. I think the little more experience from Vrabel and company makes a difference. We'll get to props in a second, but Josh McDaniels has called, I believe, 6 Super Bowls, and it's 0 for Clint Kubiak. I know that it doesn't. I know to quote Jerome.
It's not
Tang,
the first Super Bowl for a Kubiak though.
Yeah, I mean,
Get some advice from his dad.
yeah. I know, like, to quote, that's the Kansas State basketball coach, Jerome Tang, like, the old guys aren't coming back, but I do think experience in the biggest stage does matter. And I think Drake May is due for, this is going to sound so dumb, but, like, getting out of the snow, getting out of the rain, getting out of the wind, I think it is going to be a bigger factor than people think, of them playing in actual conditions, the one that Seattle's been playing in the last 3 weeks, where Darnold has been lighting it up. And I don't think New England is going to give them mistakes that San Francisco did, where Seattle took the opening kickoff back for a touchdown, the Niners immediately fumbled, and then the Rams muffed a crucial punt and didn't score down to the goal line. Like, I think New England will capitalize on their opportunities, and Darnold will make mistakes. Let's do props, because this is the fun stuff with every Super Bowl that a lot of people get involved with, whether that's squares or I don't even know what games did you guys play growing up with Super Bowl? I guess your half of your family's team was playing in it every year.
Yeah, you asked me to bring my favorite story, so I have my story. My favorite Super Bowl betting story is not what I think you thought that it was going to be. It actually involved props, which is squares. Can I say it real quick?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So this was the Falcons Patriots game, and I'm widely known as I have every year I do Super Bowl squares, whether it's I don't know, I mean $5, $20, whatever. I've done squares every year since I was 8-9 years old. Have never won. I have to this day have never won a square. The best chance I ever got was, I don't remember the exact numbers. This is where you can help me, but all I know is when the Patriots ended up coming back, I had the exact number when they were going for 2. So if the Patriots had missed if the Patriots had missed the conversion, I would have won the final score. I would have won my first ever square. Still to this day, would have been my only square, and I have still never ever won a square.
So that would have been 8-6 because they're in the title.
Upwards of almost 20 years.
Do you have a strategy? Do you have like a numbers that you like to pick? Like, are there certain numbers that you like? Do you have to choose your numbers or no?
No.
Okay,
no,
so I know some places do let you choose them.
Well, then it's much easier to win. Much easier to win if you know. I mean, 0, 0, 1, 6, 7.
Yeah.
So,
my favorite one comes a couple of years ago. I don't think you were there for this, but every time during college at our apartment, we had a big Super Bowl watch party, and there was one prop that I just loved.
Heard there were some fun games going on at those parties.
Well, there was one prop that I loved more than any other one that Super Bowl. This was the 49ers Chiefs Super Bowl, and it was no cry during the national anthem. And I'm telling you, I had like I was a coach. I had studied every national anthem broadcast for like 10 to 15 years, and basically had like a plot of like how like the director usually like goes through each shot. And I'm like, okay, they start on the singer, they show a coach, they show a player, they'll show the president if they're in the stands, they will show the military overseas, they'll do another thing, and then they'll do the grand finale. And I'm like, there was a checkbox like in my head of what needed to happen for it to win. And so I placed the bet because it had only happened, I think, once or twice that someone had cried, and both the Niners and Chiefs had made it a Super Bowl in the last couple of years. So I'm thinking, all right, it's not their first time. Like, let's go with it. Everything is going according to script about how I thought the director, how the broadcast of the national anthem was going to go. And it is, they show the military overseas. We're on to the grand finale. And they go back to Chris Jones, who is like, he is holding it back, and right as it's going to the next shot, you just see the drip down his eyes. And everyone in our apartment, because everybody knew I'd been vocal about it for hours. Everybody just screams no at the top of their lungs as if like their favorite quarterback had just thrown an interception at the 1 yard line in the fourth quarter. It was like it was unbelievable. See, there's no video of it. I wish there was, but that was. I don't think I won a single prop that Super Bowl, and it got started on a sour note. No cry, and then Jones did it last year too. Jones cried again last year.
Yeah, you made me bet it, and I had it as well.
That's what we call a bad beat. We'll transition that into our props draft. We're going to do 4 props each. The board is open. You have the tee box. What is your first pick? Favorite Super Bowl prop, 2026.
So this is officially not on the books yet, but it will be. It's going to be under the time of blank. So the prop that I'm drafting, and I bet this last year, cashed in big on it. This has hit in 10 of 11 Super Bowls when you factor in last year. No touchdown in the first 7 minutes of the Super Bowl. It should be around -110 on each side. DraftKings will have it. It's the market is going to be called something like time of blank, like time of first or time of play. That's what the market's going to be called. It's not up yet. It will be. I will be betting it again this year. It almost lost last year. There was a pass interference that was on
the opening drive.
Yeah, but other than that, it was pretty easy. And then I think and then a touchdown was scored like a minute later. So last year almost lost.
That's even odds on no touchdown first 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, I think it was 7. It's no touchdown from like 7:30 to 15. So yeah, 8 minutes.
You can get me around to that one. My first prop, my first selection. I think this one has picked up a lot of steam over the last couple of days. I don't know where the juice on it now is, but I placed it earlier. Travion Henderson over 0.5 receptions. Pat's running back. I think he was basically in the doghouse against Denver. I think Vrabel was afraid he was going to fumble. Josh McDaniels.
I would be too.
Josh McDaniels' special in the Super Bowl is finding the running backs. James White, Shane Vereen, I think had like 12 or 11 catches in Super Bowl 49 against Seattle. Seattle, I think, is near the top of the league in catches allowed to running backs. Henderson, back in the game plan this week, getting the football, he will record a catch.
Speaking of, you said something about Josh McDaniels cooking something up. Over 2.5 players to have a pass attempt.
I had that.
Plus 175.
So I had that written down on here.
I don't think the Seahawks will participate in this. But have the Pats done it since the wild card round?
So, I came with insight to this. Every Patriot fan, at least the ones on my level,
they ran the flea flicker against Denver.
They know the trick plays that we have. They have the flea flicker, the under center pitch back on the cross or the post. They hit it to Matt Collins last week. They have the reverse throw. That's what they ran against the Chargers, where they handed off to, I think it was to Henderson, who pitched it to Efton Chisholm, who overthrew Drake May. That saved me paying you for 2 dinners. The one that they haven't run yet is the cross-field screen, where they will motion the receiver, and they throw a screen there, and then the running back slips out on the opposite side. It was the play they famously ran against in the Myles Jack fumble, but they've run it so many times. They ran on opening night against the Steelers in 2019. They tried running in the Super Bowl against Atlanta, and it didn't work. Edelman actually threw the backside touchdown against Philadelphia in the regular season in 2019. That's the one we're waiting for. I think that's a great pick by you. I think you get like plus 175 on it.
Yep.
That one's coming. I'm telling you, the Pats will run that play in this game. I have another running back receptions for my second pick. George Halani over 1.5 receptions as my second pick. I'm going crazy with the number 2 running back catches. 3 catches, 4 targets last week against the Rams. I think the Pats he's a better pass blocker than Kenneth Walker, who I think that that's a key to the Pats winning, is just like blitzing every time he's back there. I think we're going to see more Halani snaps. He actually played a decent amount against the Rams, even only had 4 targets. I think he's got 2 catches in him. I think Darnold isn't going to want to make a ton of mistakes in this game, similar to, honestly, to May. So George Halani over 1.5 receptions.
I will dabble into the Super Bowl MVP market right now. So my official pick is JSN at plus 550. But this was actually runner up in my Super Bowl betting story. We had you and I both had Shaq Barrett
50 to 1.
120. No, I was like 120 to 1.
Oh, really?
That was, yeah. We had Shaq Barrett against the Chiefs, and you know this. There was a fumble that was on the ground that if he would have picked it up, he would have had like 2 sacks, a fumble forced, and a fumble recovered in the same
Brady
game.
didn't even have a great game. Like Brady was good, threw 3 touchdowns, but like
Yeah.
we were live.
So
we were live.
We were just missing like an extra oomph on the stat sheet. I mean, Barrett was like that's famous for the Mahomes like running for his life game. It was Shaq Barrett.
That was like the play before, like on what it was before one of the 4th downs.
Which one? Oh, the one
The
where he
one
threw
the ball was
side-
on the. It was in the 4th quarter.
Oh yeah. So now the Patriots' offensive line is good. Like they've been pretty good this year, but there is a world where this is a lower scoring game, and I'm gonna dabble with both DeMarcus Lawrence and Leonard Williams 100 to 1, to an MVP.
I like that.
Running it back.
I think if you think Seattle's going to ton of pressure and a lot of sacks, I think you have to dabble in that. I have another Seattle one. This one is square. There's juice on it, but like you have to. JSN most receptions in the game. The Seahawks love to spam him. I think it's minus 155 on DK. It's a lot better than the other sports book because I was looking for the same odds. New England doesn't have like a volume receiver. Like Hollins will have 3 catches here. Booty will have 4 catches. Diggs, but like I think if JSN gets 6, I think you're sitting in a great spot. And his total is 6.5. And the Seahawks have been spamming him. He didn't have a huge game against the Niners, but they were playing from ahead literally from the first snap of the game. Get it to him early, get it to him often. I think if anywhere between 6 and 8, you're feeling good about this bet.
This is interesting because you have a tight end who has the 3rd best odds and a running back with the 4th best odds.
Hunter Henry, 3rd best odds.
Yeah.
And who's 4th, Kenneth?
Ramondre.
Oh, yeah. Hunter Henry has caught like 3 passes in the playoffs.
Who was the Pats running back that had like 15 catches in the Super Bowl?
James White had the record. Vereen is not too far behind.
You think Ramondre Stevenson's breaking that record this week?
I think if someone it would be Travion.
Travion's not. He's not even.
Well, what is Ramondre most receptions?
13 to 1. He's number 4. Travion.
I'd still go.
Travion's probably still in the doghouse. Then he's not even on here.
You
bet him. You bet him to catch 1 pass.
I think he will. JSN will get there. What are the odds you're seeing? Minus 155 on that?
Yeah, 154.
I like it.
All right. Well, I gotta find one more.
Yeah. I have 2 that I'm debating between.
I will. I've been doing the novelty stuff. I don't. No, I'll do one more. Both teams to punt their first drive. I think that's like 3.5, 4 to 1. It's on there. I found it earlier. That's in like the team props. It's somewhere, but it's both teams to punt their first drive. I think it's 4 to 1.
My last one, Drake May over 260 pass and rush yards. Not sure they're gonna have a choice.
Drake May what?
Over 260 pass and rush yards. Just
Okay.
don't think they have a choice. I think that he's gonna have to deliver, and I think he's gonna scramble. His rush total is 37.5. So like, let's
Just
say
take his rushing yards.
No, because I think he could throw a bunch too. We'll see.
He doesn't.
Well, he will. Hopefully.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean like, if they're playing from behind, they have to throw the ball. Like, he will. But again, it's all game script. If the Pats go up 13-0 and they're running the ball and they're what you call it the Mike Vrabel special, like then this bet won't win.
If they go up 13-0, they'll be tied 2 drives later.
Well, they were up. What was the one? The Super Bowl against the Rams where they were 13.5-point underdog. They were up 17-3 at halftime, and they won 20-17.
Well, Vrabel wasn't on the coaching staff.
Well, he was on the team, but
I know.
is the thing that is the biggest spread that underdog has won in the century. I mean, obviously. That was the only other time the Pats were a dog in the Super Bowl. They were picking against Seattle the last time out 11 years ago, and they were 13.5-point dog to the Rams. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
It's
Prior Patriots teams have had a much better seasonal track record than this team does.
I know. Hey, second-year quarterback. This team, and we'll wrap this up in a second. This team reminds me more of another team than any of the Pats teams, the 05 Steelers. That is a team that I have been like comparing this one in for a couple weeks, where it's like second-year quarterback. He hasn't had the greatest postseason, but he's done a very good job, and it's mostly been about the defense, who didn't like. That was before James Harrison was there. Troy Polamalu was still fairly young. That was a 6 seed who they beat the Carson Palmer Bengals, and they beat the Colts, and they beat the Broncos, and they actually played Seattle in the Super Bowl. It wasn't a team of like flashy names, but they were very well coached, and they were clutch.
First of all, they beat the Carson Palmer Bengals because
Carson Palmer tore ACL in the first game.
They stomped his leg on the first play from scrimmage on by the way, a completed like 65-yard pass. What were you doing in 2005?
Watching that game.
No, you weren't.
No, I don't know. I was in like kindergarten. No, I wasn't. I was in like preschool. But I mean, if you're going to question my historian of the game,
no, I'm just saying.
I think there's some shades between those two teams, and they were the Seattle was 13-3, best record in the league. Pittsburgh was the last team in the playoffs, 10-6. Pittsburgh was still favored in that game. You don't see that very often. A 6 favorite against a 1. I was like, I wonder the spread for that game. It was like Pittsburgh like 1.5. I was so confused. And the Seattle had the MVP too, and Lawrence Alexander. The running back? Sean Alexander.
Sean Alexander.
Yeah.
I was like, that doesn't sound right.
Lawrence Alexander is somebody out there. I don't know. But appreciate you joining. I hope you enjoy the Super Bowl. Not as much as me, but...
Right?
Are you working during the game?
Trying to diversify my betting card for this. I've never been a big Super Bowl bettor. Like I'm boring. Like last year, I had Eagles money line. I am in a few futures parlays, but and then I had my no touchdown for 7.5 minutes.
Just don't take anyone to cry during the anthem.
Or do, and you'll lose.
Yep. All right, Jake. We'll see you later.